Hello everyone, Kurt over here, and welcome to a Whole Fiore Lab special in which I'm going to be compiling all the footage which I was able to teach at this year's WMAW, that's the Western Martial Arts Workshop, where I was able to teach a couple of classes, and there were several people that took the footage in time to be able to compile it to me. I'm putting this out there so that other people can take a look at this class in which which I had the privilege and honor to work out there. This is what I call detailed Dagger, which is an intimate look at Fiore's process in regards to the hand-to-hand conflict structures and quite honestly, the theory, if you will, of his approach to contending with somebody who's coming at them with a dagger. This was a series course that has, over the course of the summer, has been progressively been added to from other seminars which I was able to teach at. So if you've been to any of those seminars or seen some of this stuff before, you might see some repeat concepts, but this kind of puts it all together into the concept of what it means to when it comes down to my observations of using a dagger in this period of time. And it is my hope that this reveals more information in regards to Fiore's practice of the dagger and other knightly arts that we may be looking to find. So with this being the case here, this is a longer video. You're not going to see any sparring in it, whatever. It's very similar to what I've done for other video out there. It is just going to be, again, all the talk points and the demonstrational things which we talk about within the seminar, within the class at WMAW. And it's just for people to go out there who may have not been able to attend the class, or for those that were not able to make it up to this year, for you to be able to get that training in there or the observation of it. Please do not try this at home. This is not to augment your fencing. This is to help bring understanding and awareness to the practice of arms that we all love with Fiore's Armazzari, and not something necessarily that we want to do to people when it comes down to conflict of arms. So please, with that being the case here, again, I hope you enjoyed the footage, and please like, subscribe, share with a friend out there, and let's keep this channel continuing growing. Thanks again for stopping by. Enjoy the footage.
A little about my background is I'm a retired Marine, was not an infantry guy, but had plenty of hands-on experience that has, to me, really made me look at Fiore's manuscript in a very different light when I started to really get into it. As a guy who was taught certain things in the Marine Corps, who signed up for that, when I started reading that manuscript right there, I realized just how much that book is fire. When I say it's fire, not just at the top, I mean, the reality is it's like a loaded gun. There are things in there that I was taught to professionally do to people. And as I read that, I had this huge realization as I started watching interpretations. There's nothing wrong with that, we all love the stars. But how many people have had that kind of conversation? And as I look at this manuscript over and over and over again, it has literally become the single focus of my entire practice. It has spoken to me more, connected to more about my practice as a veteran, and has also helped me, I find, also to help with real life problems, not fighting problems. Because who here doesn't deal conflict in the line of like the local store, right? There's always something right there in general. So in order to get to those things, there's an external. This is detailed Dagger here, where we're going to look at Fiore's process. We're also going to look at his advice, as well as some of the things that he tells you to do, and we're going to give it in the best controlled possible way as possible to experience some of these things with no protective equipment, and then go back into the practice right here so you can experience what it is like in the smallest minute fraction, and then be able to see how that changes up your approach to Dagger. Okay? So what I want to do right now is, I'm just going to open this up here as far as how this goes, and I'm going to have everybody here, first and foremost, don your gloves and mask, and all we're going to do, I'm going to walk around and I'm just going to observe people. All I want you to do is don gloves and mask, pass back and forth, first master Dagger. So first we're going to have a master that comes in, just as this, as far as overhead Manvito or Fendente. Scholar is going to come in, single across, and then work into a plank. Does not have to be super intense. Just let me see what you're working with, and we're going to see how we change them. This, again, do not be intense. Slow. Let me see your theory. Okay? I saw plates and other things right here. I also saw, for the most part, incredible ukis on the master's side. meaning someone who's not fighting back. My question for you is, I asked you to do first master dagger place. So my question here is, you're talking about a master position right here. What makes it that the master doesn't get to have the dagger strike? What is it that makes the master have the dagger strike? I want you to think about that for a second here, and I'm going to ask a question here for everyone here to answer. Think about that for a second. What is the thing that makes it possible to have the master have the dagger pulled away? In this case, it's your friend. That's not what this is about. So, what is the process for Dagger? What is Fiore's approach? What is his outline, line by line, of what you should do when someone comes at you with the dagger, which every man fears? Run. If you're noble, you're pretty much screwed.
Disarm the dagger, break his arms, bind the arms, and then throw him to the ground.
Close. For the most part, you got it. Nice. Who else? Anyone want to add to that? What's the first thing that you do?
Bind.
Fall on him with your arms, your elbows, your hands. Right? Fall on them with your arms, your elbows, and your hands. Take the dagger away. For this class here, what I define that is, it's not taking the dagger. It is taking the dagger. You can go ready for a second here. It is the process of taking the dagger. If she's coming at me, it's this. What's the next one after that? You're very close. You have the majority after that. There's one key element right there. One. Anyone want to venture a guess?
Lock their, immobilize them.
Strike them.
Strike.
Which gives us back to the preamble of Fiore's works. Where do we strike somebody who's not armored?
Eyes, nose, ears.
Eyes,
Kneecap. Throat.
flanks, the throat under the chin, the temple, even the arms and the portions of the thighs are strikes. Yes, there's these shots here as well, but we're talking about the portions of right here that are going to change the battle space. And if you were here at CSG when I taught that one class, that's a prelude to how we can use strikes and stuff. Okay? So strike them, break their arm, bind them, and toss them to the ground. So that is this theory of operation. And we have the context before, which tells us what to do with that strike. Now, where to strike the person is completely and totally dependent on what other piece of advice do you think? What's that? Inside or outside line? Possibly.
What are they wearing?
What are they wearing? How big they are? So to me, this tells us the only advice that Fiore gives in the entire manuscript about how to fight somebody, which I think is the wisest thing for any combat professional to give to any other combat professional. It's not use a technique. Observe them. Are they strong? Are they short? Are they stabby? Are they quick? Do they take up the positions of Abrazzari? And then look at yourself. The point of that right there is, the phrase is, know thyself. So, are they inside or outside? It's how you make them. And that's what we're going to talk about right here as far as that goes. So, with that being the case here, we're going to start talking about the first thing right here, which is that first covering mechanism. And this right here does not have to be super intense, and it may hurt. Again, and the reason why we're talking about this right here is because, again, this first portion, because this is your first position, this action is not just taking in the spot. Somebody who's bigger, come here, Walker, you big, tall guy who's got chainmail on his arms, his arm weighs a hell of a lot more here. So when he comes careening in with this, me going like this is going to go right through my body. So we're going to change that. Thank you, sir. And again, for someone that's shorter here, she has no choice. unless she's fighting other savvy people, right? There you go. So what I want to do right here is I want gloves off. Gloves off. And what we're going to do here is, all we're going to do is, there's a demo, this is why I utilize for my effective strikes training within my curriculum. What the person's going to do is they're going to put their hands like this. Now what we're doing here is you're not flexing. That's not what we're doing here. Dagger in here, maybe I'm flexed. As it goes in motion, the muscles have to loosen to be able to go here, and then they become extended. It's the same thing with a punch. I don't punch like this, where it's all flexed and tense. I have to be tense, release, punch. Tense, release, punch. It's the same kind of concept. You want to make kinetic action. So what you're going to do here is we're just going to do a few passes of this. Brandy's going to demonstrate here. She's going to have her thumbs up as if she's in that Mandrino position. She's not flexing. The person that's performing this, you're going to give a little oomph. And you go back and forth with this.
One note, I would really recommend hold your arms up, relax your muscles as much as possible.
Yes. So this right here, when you're doing this, it is not over and over and over again. It's one, you can do 3 iterations. That's it. Because after a while, your arms get freaking dead. So it starts off with this, turns her up. Go like this right here. 1, 2. Now it's my turn. Now it's my turn to strike. 1, 2. Her turn. My turn. 1, 2. And then the left side right here. You see how each one of those right there, that is hitting muscles that are loose. You're going to experience that. Talk with your partner. Just because we give consent to practices does not mean you get to hit them as hard as fuck. So if it's too much for you, reel it back. Okay? Pair up. If you want to keep the same partners, that's fine. Work with people on this right here. And I just want you to do that drill here. Experience what it's like to cover that. And utilize maybe a little bit what Fiore talks about with a cresting off line with vaulted stabuli right there to really get your elephants engaged and to go into different positions. Okay? It does not have to be super hard. Just play with that and experience. Okay? I hear laughter. I hear, oh my God, there's bruising. I hear these things right here. So, I mean, here's the part about that right here. So what was it like in that experience? Again, this is all about a moment. This is not combat. We're going to put all this stuff together. Okay? What do people feel in their hands and their arms? A little tingling. Okay? Right? Numb? Depending if you have nerve damage, or wrist issues, these are spots right here that can become problematic. So what we're going to do next here with this, and this is a spot where here we're going to revisit the first master cover alone. Okay? What's going to happen in this case is, in this case right here, I'm going to hold this dagger in position. My arm is still loose. Because in order for this to happen, my arm has got to be loose. My hand might be tight, but the arm has got to be loose. What I want to have happen here is go in there and strike back and forth, one to here and one to this. The person that's being struck here, please don't be, I don't care how strong you can be, that's just cheating yourself. Let yourself feel what it's like to have danger hit you. That's a huge lesson. Just experience what happens in your hand. If you want to have your hand tight but your muscles loose in the arms, experience that. 2 iterations, 1 to the forearm. Yep. Feel what happens in your hand. And then 1 to the wrist. That wasn't supposed to happen, but good. So, same partners. Again. I'm thinking about what's happening right here. I'm doing this with my hand. What are we experiencing there? Arms asleep, spiky tingling stuff. What else?
There's no problem to hold it when you're engaged.
What's that?
When your arm muscles are engaged, there's no problem to hold it.
No problem with that, but in this case right here where you're extended out, it becomes a problem. You ever see those weird YouTube videos of those 2 big guys, right? This guy's holding a knife, and he's sitting there like this, like holding it, and the guy's just slamming on his arm. He's like, this is so fucking stupid. Of course it's fucking stupid, because you're muscularly engaged on that, you're harder on that, and all those tendons are not actually getting the impact shot that happens to soft muscle spots. That makes it easier to use and stuff, right?
One thing I noticed was
the strike to the muscle belly, which absorbs a bunch of the shock, also mitigates the movement a bit, and the strike to the harder area forces my hand to move.
So we're learning effective strikes, and that perhaps, maybe, if I'm going against someone that's shorter, maybe hit them in one way, and if they're bigger, hit them this way. This is just tools in your toolbox about knowing effective strikes against the back, and that's a big part of how we're looking at it. So that right there is all we've done right here. That's just taking the dagger away. We haven't even gotten a strike done yet. That's the crazy part about this. And that's where we go into first master, which is this right here. This next section, again, for this purpose, please make sure your gorgets are off. What we are going to do here is we're going to do touch points on the face, the throat, and also simulate certain parts as far as on the sides of the head. We're not going to strike. There will be one strike that we talk about later on, but again, this is to put this stuff into context. Please, I am not celebrating this. I'm respecting this for why I say it's a loaded gun in a manuscript. Okay? What we're going to start experiencing here, we're going to start off with our partners. Again, if you were in the class I got to teach at CSU earlier this year, we're going to be doing some similar things here with the eyes, the nose, the throat, and the jaw. In this case right here, so she's prepared, right? So she knows, so when we do this in our enhanced Abrazari section, we do, obviously, you never touch the eyes. You never touch the eyes. We wear goggles because it's a lot easier to see the thumbs over them, and that in itself is terrifying. You know this because this is your Abrazari, where if she grabs onto my collar here with both her hands, it comes up and over into the face. Now, her response to this right here is as much about being an incredible instructor as it is also the nervous system response of the amygdala going, no! But I'm not going to let her escape, and I'm going to control this right here. So we're going to experience that effective strike first with incredible control. No gloves. What I want you to experience with this right here is we're just going to have, this way we have a way to lodge in. She's going to put her hands right here. She's going to put her hand right here, so if it gets too much, she can tap the fuck out. All I'm going to do here is I'm going to put my hands up and over. This traps the response. Look familiar, Mark? And we're going to put the fingers right at the cheeks. Before you do any compressing right here, maybe just shoot the fingers up and check in with your partner here. See what happens to them. When I say we see what happens to them, ask them, what does this feel like? The moment I see thumbs go over my eyes, it's horrifying. Because the reality is, the response for me in this case, I'm not going to do it, is that. And that is that shaking of the neck and spine, which causes things in the C2 through 3-7 of the neck. Okay? Again, lots of deeper. Hair up. All I want you to do is feel the discomfort. Your hands are right here, so when it gets too much, she'll tap, release. And then it comes your turn. Explore the face. Put this right here. Feel how this goes. The closer you can get there, you might feel the response to get the hell away. Do not engage the eyes. The whole point of this right here is we're getting as close to the manuscript as we possibly can without getting a lawsuit, right? So the point right here is understand why this manuscript is fire. Okay? Partner up with new people. Try to pick somebody out there that's different sized. Yes, that's what I'm talking about. His hands on me. I want to go on the outside. I don't want to go on the inside. So if I'm grabbing it on the end, if he goes onto the inside of my arms, I can come across, and this allows where strike, break. And you have all sorts of things that kind of come into this area here. This is where we're going to talk about the other effective strikes that come with that. So with that being the case, we're going to take a look here that off of that grip, because now we're going to go into the next area where you can steer things. And I absolutely appreciate what you're saying, because we can turn, we can jolt, we can crank. There's all sorts of things that happen with this. So in this case here, thanks, man. Appreciate it. The next thing we're going to talk about is as we attack the eyes. Now the reason why, and you're absolutely right, I was taught the same. Torque down. However, the response is this, which may go into other options. Right, positions where you shove back and grab the back. For this, we're not going to do that. It is too damn dangerous to actually teach that. Grabs in. When I come to this spot here, I shoot the face. Now what we're going to do is we're going to use our fingers. We're going to play piano on the back of the jaw and turn into the body portion right here. Okay? Now the reason why we're doing this right here is we have another spot right behind the jaw. Okay?
There's a nerve patch right there.
It's horrible. If I was teaching you to do this for real, as you wouldn't just push in, you push in and draw back so that you dislocate the joint. Don't do that. Again, this is what the manuscript is talking about when striking the back of the jaw. Okay? So in here, we attack the face. I turn by going to here. That's all I really want you to do. I want this person to experience that. And there's one more thing we're going to do with the throat in a minute, which is awful, which again adds to the concept of effective strikes. Again, in my opinion, not a fencing manual, a combative's manual. Keep your partners, since you built that trust there, experience that, back and forth, ease into this. Okay? One other thing here, because again, I had a great conversation over here. What happens if that person really locks out and you can't break the structure? So why do we come on the outside? There's a couple things here. So in this case right here, if I really want to keep her away from me, for her to reach my face, if she's trying to reach my face here, she can't. So she's going to find ways to get into the arm. Right? So she can either A, drop over the arms and put the weight here, which gives access to the face. Because by the way, I'm pulling her into it, which means I'm using the claw. Or say right here, she's slamming on the arms, nothing's happening. Right? What she can do is she can reach here. And we're going to steer this button two different ways. So by coming right here, she can't do anything. She can't touch my face, but she can't touch my throat. And there's a little button right here that I want you just to push. Tap. Just touch. Do not gouge. Just touch. Because it's enough for them to be like, oh, that's gross. Which is enough to make them good. Push. Which allows you to flow into the spot right there because you are gouging it. What I was taught was put the fingers deep as possible in there. Make it your wedding band. Don't do that here today. Okay? So what I want you to do, we're going to experience that. That's the first variant. The second variant here is she grabs in. I come right here, I attack the face, I turn this here, and then I can really go to the throat. This is called muscular gouging, and it's effective striking. This is using your fingers and pressure, and eventually we're going to be talking about in strikes. Okay? So, we're going to take that now, and just touch that here. To demonstrate this, all you have to do is, I stand here like this, you put your thumbs up, push the throat. Whatever, I don't care. Just push it. All you have to do is feel that way. See how easy it is to have that happen. That's it. New partners. Get uncomfortable. What right here is, again, unpleasant, right? What's that feel like?
Bad.
Bad. Yes. In a word, bad, right? Who else? Anyone else want to ask me? What happened to your body? Collapse? Yeah. What else? What's that?
An involuntary response.
An involuntary response. So, okay, this is just by gouging. Imagine, and I'm not actually going to do it here. Dagger comes in with a shot. Yeah. Here, boom! Strike them, break the arm, bind them, and then throw them to the ground. I have destroyed your ability to hold this. I've made your return impossible to come off of right here for pain compliance. I have broken the arm in that space of lucidity. And then off of that binding right there, I've maintained this right here because a flopping dying fish still flops. So that when I throw, you break yourself even further. And that's just Dagger Play 1. The quote would happen at another demo we did, and that's when the murder gets fun. And we're talking about a different art. For anyone that was here for the Exiles class, last cycle, where Luke Ireland goes, look at their friend, look like a psycho. I was like, oh man, this guy's for real. Because of how vicious that intention is right there. And in a world of violence, these are things that are happening. We're not celebrating this, we're looking at this and respecting it. Okay? The next one we're going to talk about here, because we're going to be, here's the spot right here. Please understand for this, you don't need much. In fact, when I tell you this right here, Greg actually was doing this earlier with Ben, where he's tapping. We're going to do a similar thing right here. We're going to talk right here. So in this case, the way we're going to do this is incredibly controlled and very slow. There's going to be a jolt. All we're going to do here is, so Randy's going to put one hand on me. All I'm going to do is I'm going to maintain this hand here, not for the sake of the technique, but to maintain curl. My hand is going to go right here. Side. All I'm going to do is I'm going to put my hand like this, like hovering over the neck, and I'm going to let her notify me I'm going to strike. Because all that's going to be is a push strike. It does not have to be intense. Do not strike with either your forearms or anything else. So as I'm right here, I'm going to strike. All you're doing right there is to feel how that jostles the head. It does not need to be hard. Both sides of that, feel that, take a second, let your other partner do that, and then we'll come back and discuss further. This is all important data for what we're talking about to understanding Fiore's process. Okay? New partner. What was it like? What did we experience in that shot? I heard that sucks, I heard choking, I hear the...
You also get a bit of your eyesight flickers, you get a little flutter, and if you watch your opponent's eyes, their irises will expand slightly. Because you've just pumped a rush of blood into their brainstem.
All this right here is why when we talk about another piece in the prelude of why I think Fiore understood medicine. Because to understand killing means you understand medicine. And if he had studied medicine, canon law, or jurisprudence, perhaps the things that make you so you know how to carry, and also maybe the mental, emotional safeguarding of the time of penance, and also I know how to help somebody, which means I really know how to hurt somebody. That perhaps the guy was not just some combat killer out there, but was quite diverse in his practice. So we had oculation shifting. It sucked to the eyes. Who else? Was any of it disoriented? Anyone feel the rest of their body start shaking? That's very scientific, and I tell you right now, absolutely, yes. I'm serious on this right here. I may be doing a bit here, but absolutely, there's no word to describe. You feel yourself just give out. When I was, so what this right here is, you're hitting, again, close to this cluster of nerve, you're disrupting the flow of blood. It's also a spot right here where you can make the head just jerk off to the side. There's things right here that become very disorienting within that strike. So again, if you think about this, coming up and going here, what am I doing? Well, I think it's a straight shot. No, it's any shot. Think the senio. Along the side of the face here, along the side of the head here, thrust, groin, all these things, okay? So that right there is talking about the neck area. We're looking at the upper body portion. Now, that's just talking about this right here. We're still not done exploring. But we are far from done exploring. The next one we're going to do here is one of the things I was taught in the Marines on how to get out of a chokehold that's from behind. And once again, it's through muscular gouging. Now, we're not doing this in the form of being able to get out of a chokehold. But we're going to get out of it because, take the dagger for a second here. Because there's an image, there's an image where he's like this. And we're going to talk about this right here. So again, if this is an uncomfortable spot here, this may sting. We're going to demonstrate how this works. I'll have you demonstrate. So if I put Brandy into the chokehold, all we're going to do here is an easy way to go back and forth. I'm going to basically put myself down right here. I have my arm over. I'm not choking at this phase. Don't actually do that. This is just a way for them to be able to execute on control. Now the immediate response is go for the groin, right? But if you're fighting somebody right here, you've got to loosen up the body so that you can get them away here. And there's a whole very nasty muscle right here called the gracilis that really and truly is great for getting this light for the person to move. So the first one we're going to do here is, in this case, all we're going to do here, move my belt out of the way, is she's going to put her elbow right into between the knee, and she's going to drag down and up into the groin area. Now the thing about that is, in grappling, that does not necessarily mean you're going to give way right off the bat. If you're fighting and your amygdala's firing off, the moment she does that right here, I might stop. We're going to look at the other way of getting that. I'm going to demonstrate. Reaching on the inside right here is our muscularly gouging the inside of the leg. So when we take a look, make the shape again, first master, this medical dagger. When we take a look at this, we're probably looking at what I call slap gouging, which is to look like on the inside. And that right there, that lock out, and now whoo, up. So how do we get these things to happen? You hurt them. Okay? Ugly. Ugly, ugly. We're not slap gouging like that. Lots of practice in doing this. Okay? So we're going to pair up. Again, one person's coming over top. Don't do anything with the neck, please. It's very easy to make this really sore, right? If you ever try to live the 80s where you're head banging and stuff like this, it's just like that. If you're trying to don't wrench the neck, please. It's not worth it. Just rest it right here. First one, she's going to find the inside. As she comes right here, it's going to be awful. If she doesn't find it right off the bat, then she can just gouge the elbow in, up and down into that spot until she finds that area. I stop this, she reaches across the hand, she grabs in here, and she's going to find here. Now there's a portion right here, you can see with my riding pants. There's my quadricep, there's my gracilis. Yes, you're looking at the inside at the center of the knee, in the middle of the knee. And they're just going to pull it. You can just feel that right here.
You can feel it because there's a separation right under that muscle where you dig your fingers in.
Kind of feels like a garden hose, like a little.
Yeah, it's kind of.
Yes, we'll be floating around to assist in this. Again, pair up and play with this. Just experience. Go on both sides. So you go one side and switch to the other side so you can feel it. Even out the pain, you know. And then go from there. Okay? New partners. Refresh the left. Then we're down. All right. There's one over here. You got it? Cool. So while she's up there working that, what the experience? Hey! World's worst massage.
Yes, pain and more just like my leg was going to move, but no matter what I did, I didn't really feel it so much.
Okay.
Oh God, I had to go and talk.
Yep. Okay. Yep. So your leg goes regardless of
Yeah,
what
I feel like it's less pain, and it's just like my leg is just going to move.
So we know where to effectively push buttons to make somebody fall. Nice work. Nice work. Nice work. Thank you for that. Because again, whether they actually sit there and go, ah! Or they go, I'm not feeling anything, but my body's going. My body's! I'm sorry. What else?
My leg just went numb, and it just collapsed.
Okay. So now we can imagine, think about what we did before earlier with the strike, and then going, pop, pop, and striking the inside. We're going to do that next. But before we do that, go for it.
Is that little point in there, is that accessible when you're wearing armor?
I actually have a theory on that because depending on how much your front crease is there, I don't know if this is because the armor was not necessarily its munitions grade or whatever, but I got into a lock where somebody had my back and I put my fan to the inside and started to gouge, and it worked very, very well.
If he is wearing armor, you can grab the plate and just throw it.
And you could just,
You can
so,
use, like armor, you can
again,
grab easy.
I do not recommend people try that in the list. If you're trying,
I will kick you out of the meeting.
but if you're talking about understanding the weapon that is armor, for the purpose of this kind of exploration and not for replication, there's ways to do it and there's ways not to do it. Okay? Because like Walker said, if that button gets clicked, you don't need to be there. So this knowledge is not to give people like, oh yes, I can do this in my next fencing tournament. This knowledge right here is to, again, respect the book that we have, which we all love to follow. Because there's a lot of nasty stuff that's in it. That's the point of this. So please understand that. So what I want to do next here with this is we're going to start doing a double strike. Because again, we're talking about getting to that leg. We're not going to strike as hard, and that was actually not nearly as hard as I have a big hand. And that's a loud clapping. So all I want you to do here with this is one person assumes the position of first match dagger. So she assumes the position of the dagger coming in. And I'm going to practice utilizing both side leg with an accrescimento, going top, and then slap it inside. Just tap that right there. Just feel what that's like. So dead in this hand, and then dead in the leg. So real slow. Like that.
Was the target sort of near the knee or the middle of the thigh?
More, don't strike the knee, just about the knee. Go slow.
Yeah.
You hit the knee, don't do that. Again, we're trying to understand why a position works. That's all we're doing. Thank you for that question. Anyone else? Okay? Take a lot of repetitions, right? Because you're like, I get the point, damn it. Oh my God, stop. I used to hate doing, oh God, not muscle deadening, I can't remember what it was. We had to used to do this constantly, and it sucked.
Body hardening.
Body hardening, thank you. Thank you, brother. Appreciate it.
Hours and hours.
Hours and hours of someone doing this to your inner thighs so that eventually you don't feel it.
Go put your boots on and then come back and do it.
Yeah, that's not fun. It's not fun. And thank you, Hoorah. Appreciate that. So, with that being the case here, again, this doesn't take much to get the point across. And again, some people might be wondering, why the hell do I need nose for my fencing? It's not about fencing. This is, and again, for me, Fiore's manuscript is not fencing. It's being the professional combatant. It is, I am the one that is supposed to fight. I don't work and I don't pray. Mine is to fight. So to know these things right here, that is what the nature of this right here. Fighting with a sword is no different than in range time with different tools of war today. That's all that it is. The sword means nothing if you stick it in the wrong spot and that person still kills you. When we talk about how all these things right here, they apply to the dagger, but they also go everywhere else. So the last thing I really want to talk about here, I think it's the last thing, like 3 times in a row here, but they're like, oh my God, when's it going to stop? This is a little bit more fun. We're going to talk about how we steer the body here. I'm going to use the dagger. And in this case right here, all we're doing is we're going to see how pressure on certain areas shifts the body. Now this is a wooden dagger that is not even close to how horrible a rondelle dagger really is. And we're going to look at something right here because again, what we're doing here is all Brian's doing is she's going to stand like this in the neutral stance. I'm going to grab, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to place at the hip. Just place and push. Now if they fight back with this, you either A, have missed, or that person's got dead nerves right there, or you may not be pushing hard enough. I'm not saying to push harder. I'm saying to check with that, because the whole point right here is you're looking at this as ways to turn the person. If I put the dagger here, to turn the person. The whole point right here is, and we were talking about this earlier, I don't have to hammer. It might be enough just for me to take a dagger like this to turn them and then break it in. We're not talking about, I don't have to go wham, roll D20 for strength to go through somebody's chainmail, which, okay, that's great. But too much pain at once supersedes pain, and now that person's in response. So, you going straight in might take that out, but if their mind's in fight, their mind might go right past that blow. Steady pain, which allows for turning, and that is something that allows for the person to turn. It ramps up things. So for this right here, all we're doing is we're going to have the body like this. I'm going to practice pushing the dagger into those spots that we've done before. And you are going to use the knife on your buddy over here to just push those points, not in the face. We don't need to do that. You obviously know what happens there. But in those points in the joints. And I want you to experience what it feels like with a blunt tool so that you might appreciate what happens with a sharp one. New partners. Any questions? What was that like? If someone says that sucks, okay, yeah, thank you. Here's your 10 cents. I appreciate it. That,
You just fold up, even with like a rubber dagger here, it's just like, you can't do anything with that. Break the structure.
surprisingly vulnerable. Break the structure and control, yes. Look at yes for me.
I'm just thinking.
Okay, sorry.
Because sometimes the tool that you're aiming for doesn't work as the other person's working, so you gotta find the next spot. So just keep shanking them until you find something.
So the thing is, that's where, okay, so when we look at pictures of armor and why Fiore may be like this, and I have a whole class on that which is not this. Armor changes over time. And in the 14th century, armor starts to get augmented to chainmail, and then starts becoming bigger and bigger, more robust, and different purposes. To me, it makes a lot of sense why later periods fight straight. To me, it makes a lot more sense why Fiore fights offline. You have power, your armor's in the right position, it's not nearly as encased in many cases. You may or may not have falls, we don't know. But there's things out there where with a world without falls, my arm becomes my fault. And I can just stab you there. Yeah, you have to stab me there. So that means I still have a lot of things right here that are in my playing field. At the same time, however, to your point, she sticks me right here in the breastplate and I roll off and I stop the arm. Well, this isn't doing anything, but that doesn't mean that she can't find other spots here. And if I stab the hip like you were demonstrating a bit earlier, that didn't work. So in this case, I stab the hip, nothing happens here, right? So I slide down and find another spot here to work into, right? Even though this has got a point, and yes, tips to flats and everything else, there's a lot of stuff, it's crazy, it's science. There's lots of different functions there. When you talk about curvature, sliding happens in different directions. Ultimately, if the first stick don't work, find another one. Again, that's the mentality I believe that he's trying to say with his dagger. Okay? Because when it comes time to ending cruel combat, I have no equal. All men fear me. Sword, axe, and lance are useless against me. Most lethal tool to the knight, in my opinion. So, all that right there is the discussion point. So that's what it's like to be stabbed. Anyone have anything else they'd like to add to that? Okay. How about the person that is stabbed? What did you experience? What was it like to stab and be like, oh wow, I'm just poking right here, and realize you have to jam? What was it like? Talk to me.
I thought the rubber dagger, the synthetics, was gonna like bend or not be useful. It's just like, I don't know. It's there. I could wizard one.
He's a wizard, Harry! Let me use some! Right?
It's hard to find the spot through clothing.
Yeah.
And you've got to make contact and move it around.
Yes.
I found the spot on the top of the knee. If you don't go off to one side and you're able to drive straight in, the foot is braced against the ground so they can't move back against it.
So you, like Grizz earlier, was like step on the foot and make him do this and break everything. All sorts of nasty stuff.
I couldn't help but think of how convenient of a handle that would have been to throw somebody once you got it lodged in their hip or their knee.
Or the shape. So here, so in this case right here, she makes this is the position we see all over in Fiore, right? This right here. And talking later on what I think Senor stance is and how Senor's telling us entirely. If I come in and I stick right here and I push this inside here and she starts turning away, I just got her back. So all this stuff right here comes down to point control. It's less about whamming and more about let's get that right there, make it unpleasant, and now I have your back. And in a world of turn shoes and turn boots and not Nike, in swooshes, where you have tread and for projection, that is a huge difference. Okay? To Nathan's point, we're talking about clothes that are bulky. Arming clothes, extremely tight. Some have more layers, some have less. Either way, the point isn't that right there, is that by working that, it's a lot easier because you are more form-fitted. You can find where my hips are with these riding pants. Historical, but I don't give a damn, they look fabulous on me. You can find all the points on me right here because it follows the curvature of my leg. Why is it necessary? Because armor is better when it's worn on me and not hanging off of me. Those are key aspects. So again, these are other things we're looking at anatomically to the person, knowing the effects. So, does anyone have any else they want to add to that when it comes down to using the dagger? Check.
Yeah, so, I'm a very small person. Like, if I'm fighting you hand to hand, I'm going to have to wail on you all day to really do any damage. And this suddenly becomes the best equalizer I've ever found, where I'm like, oh, now I'm insanely lethal with, a sharp little pointy thing. It's fantastic.
It's wonderful. And if I was teaching a seminar, I would also give you my hypothesis to why I think Fiore covers to the side so that you're actually covering the dagger with your body so that they can't do that once you bind them up. Because do you really want to get close to someone who's free with the arms?
I'll go ahead with a dark thought. Once you see them move, it makes doing the next bit a lot easier and easier to let yourself do.
Yes. Thank you for that. Because the thing about this is right here is that there's a function in the body and the mind where predation happens, where if you feel like if you are in a spot where I'm the better person, that's what fighting is, right? I'm the better person, I'm going to eat you before you eat me. And when you start getting the advantage right there, you're not thinking like the human being out there. You're not thinking of what you need or should do. You're thinking of what you have to do. And by thinking, you're not thinking it's this little guy back here that is making you do the thing, right? All the while, you inside might be like, no, don't do that. But the reality is, this is taking over every function. And as you start seeing that you're winning, it makes it a heck of a lot easier to do the thing that's necessary afterward.
I just want to mention from experience against historic pattern gametes is that little bit of pressure we're putting, that constant steady pressure, that's enough to penetrate 32 layers of more so than like quick thing. Steady, constant pressure, that's going to penetrate.
And if you utilize the dagger, in fact, when you put this right here and push your body into them, because armor is a brace, then it's even easier. And that's good to know, because for me, when I was trying to do onsets and other things, I couldn't do it. But when I pressed in or I had to level in, I was able. All bodies are different, right? It's just how it works. Not everyone's going to do the same technique, which is why we're going to go into a little bit of dagger sparring here. We're going to look at first master again. Now, this is where we're going to put on all the safety equipment here. Bourgets, masks, padded gloves, please. If you don't have padded gloves, I'm going to ask you to abstain. What we're going to do right now is we're going to go back to the very beginning, and we are going to engage in the murder. You're going to start, that person's going to come in with the strike. We've talked about how we have that loose space. Yes, this is it's a moment in time where we're trying to get the training out of this. And that scholar is going to cover, take the dagger away, strike, not through. You're going to aim for those spots, control it, strike, and then off of that strike, see how the body changes, and then go into a play. While this is happening, I also want the person that's doing this right here to see and observes what happens when contact against you is made. Just observe. And perhaps this might also give reason as to why Fiore has this approach of why people do remedies and stuff like here, because the reality is the same. You didn't follow the procedure. You didn't fucking strike him. That's why this can happen to you. You just took the dagger away. Of course I can take the dagger away here. He didn't hit me to disorient. Gear up, para, play. When I say strike, I'm not saying haymakers. Just feel that spot there. See what it's like to disorient right here. If you want to practice eye gouge, you stick a palm to someone's face. Keep that in mind. Keep the control and ease. So, conversation in the back that I have. If I take up the position of apprezzare, what have I told her?
You're not a fighter.
What's that? I'm not, what's that?
You're not a fighter.
I'm not a fighter? I know how to fight. I have some training. I may be a fighter. I may be a guy who saw that. Looked kind of cool. I saw that on C-SPAN, or whatever the heck it is, right? Bustico did it. And there we go. What were you going to say?
Same thing.
Okay. But here's the thing about this. I also just gave you my entire playbook. Why do we have a play where she takes a position, I'm going to mention the dagger. Why do we have a play in First Master that does this? Is it to block? Or is it potentially, at this case right here, she took up a position of apprezzare, but she may know what she's doing. So let me throw this out here so she covers it, because twitch response is there. Let me check it. So going, and I move in. Why is that the case? So once again, we're looking at the only advice, how I see it, of what Fiore is saying. Do they take a position of apprezzare? Then cheat. What's cheating? That's a modernism. This is the people that fight. You should have had better visimento. You should listen more. Was your princesa off? How about your fortezza? Maybe you lack the courage. Probably the visimento. The whole point of it right here is that the concept comes down to your awareness. They take up a position like this right here. If they're doing this right here, oh boy, this is fun. Right? So, she's short. That doesn't mean that she's lost. That means that she might play the game of trying to get into the inside because she feels that that's the best spot that she can get. Because that's where she can get low on me. I'm long and I'm taller and my reach is longer. I'm estimating that I'm stronger. These are my attributes I use. Are you seeing how those become the senyo? So what we're going to do here is, because the reason why I ask all that is because, again, and again, back there, I'm going to come across this way into a reinforced block, right? Well, that might be nice, but again, in this case, if you just take up the dagger position, if I come like this right here, I'm telling her I'm going to reinforce brace her. Well, what's this play mean, Kurt? Or why? What it shows in the manuscript. Well, what's the counter of this? Hello, elbow. Please, the elbow move across. Take my arm, right? Oh, by the way, I just turn across right here. Same thing as points. Instead, maybe it's a continuation. We play with those things. She comes in, boom, pop, reinforce come in. Because she's bigger and stronger on us. Oh boy, I got Greg over here right here. Yes. Let's do this. Maybe they're stronger than me in this case right here. Maybe the shot comes in, boom, they decide to turn across into third and second master rolls across. We're not doing all those things right there because, again, why is she having the opportunity to do this? Why? It didn't strike her. She had time to redirect that shot. And again, I'm not making a criticism, but in the world of masks, you do not experience how disoriented it is for someone to go this. You're like, what the hell just happened? By the way, you've been stabbed 5 times. In that kind of context. Celebrating it, observing it, and respecting it for what it is. So at this point in time right here we've talked a lot about how we shift bodies around, but did anyone out here actually take into account Fiore's advice? Did anyone actually look at the person and check in with themselves and say, Ed Wells has probably got lots of fortezza. I probably got a lot more princesa in him on this right here, so I'm going to see if I can use my princesa against this fortezza and turn him around right here. Because that's probably my advantage. We're about equal length and height right here, so I'm going to try to play a certain way here. And then he comes with the dagger. And then play to your strengths. Did anyone see here where your shots and strikes come into? The reason why I ask this is because that's the person that comes in, and in a split-second moment, I have an instant of being able to look at this. We don't have a lot of time to do that. Whether it's the battlefield, the tilt, or anything like that, you have a second. You look at them, boom, and you go. Immediate, that's how fast your senyo has got to be inside. Look. It's not how good your fencing is. It's probably how much your awareness is. What tool do I take to task on the big fella? Maybe I let him grab me. But then it just comes around with a break. Let them think that their strength comes this way. This is where the craft and the awareness becomes the predation element. So, what we're going to do right now is, we're going to now play the other side of this, because I want you to do right here is you're going to experience what it's like when you screw up. All we're going to do here is, I'm going to come up here. I want people here, because the person with the dagger has got intent. I'm going to knife this person. So in that portion, I come up, Brandy comes with the dagger at me, first master, I do this, and then off of this right here, all she's going to do is she's going to apply the same type of striking blows, everything against me, to turn me, and then to turn it back at me. She might eye gouge me, which turns the body, and look at the shapes that we're making on the body right here. She might decide to, I come right here, I don't do anything, she might slap the inside of my leg, which turns the blade here in different spots. I want you to apply that kind of concept right there if the person doesn't follow Fiore's process and strike the person. Just explore your murderous side a little bit right there, because this person just tried to murder you. Well, you tried to murder them, they didn't do anything, right? You're the person doing this. So you attack them, they don't do anything, strike them. Grab in spots. See what happens, how that changes, and how this makes the practice of Fiore's dagger so incredibly brutal. Okay? I think we've already seen that. New partners? Is what we utilize in our curriculum, which is the gateway into what we call sequence sparring. We're not doing a tournament here. I don't care if you could tag. The whole point right here is to apply what you've learned. Go sparring, the person with the dagger will be keeping the tempo. And by the way, if you think it's a misjudgment as far as why I'm having it here with the echo, oh no, that's calculated. Because combat is crazy. And who the hell is the one that's dictating right here? Go sparring looks like this. You will need master gloves for this, or just demonstrate for this purpose. The one with the dagger is the one that is calling the tempo. So I sit there and I start off right here and I go, 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 and stop to a point where you get into locks. The point of this right here is anybody can go out there and go, I'm hitting and winning. Can you know it? What's your avizamento? Anybody can throw a shot out there. But when you have a buffer that has got steel, and you have a little bit of time to be able to see a little bit more, can you define what you're doing? This is your opportunity to apply everything. So the person with the dagger, maybe start off with a go. Grab him in the face. Every dirty, nasty trick. Not offensive, maybe. Grab their face. Grab the throat. Put the dagger up, slap the inside of the leg, and see what happens on the inside. And on the defense, what's your avizamento? Take a second to assess. The only advice that Fiore gives. Look at them. Do they take up a position? Are they ready? Well, we know we're ready here because we've got training with that. But do everything you can to empty your mind, look at them, assess, and also that, then take your tool to task. Take a good hard look within 3 seconds. They're big, they're strong, they're fast right here. This is my game plan. Oh, God, it's going. And that's what happens. Person with the dagger, you're the tempo keeper. Go sparring with it. It's not going to go, 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 go. We're not jumping out of a helicopter. And also, it's not this. Go. So every time you say go, go, go. It has to work together with that. That's the point of this. Don't cheat. Explore. Dive. Learn the things out there that are going to teach you about this. Explore the effective strikes within control. You've experienced what it's like without the gear on. So when someone comes in there and does this right here to you, you may understand. Don't sit there and muscle through it. Because the reality is the person actually did what we just did for training right here. That person's leg is buckling. Be the good uki and understand what had happened to the body. Okay? We're going to do a little bit of that right here before we circle up at the end. Pair up. It gives perspective. And in some cases out there, if you're not used to someone sitting there like cheating, then that may cause, like, wait a second here, we're supposed to be doing this drill here, but this is a bigger reality. A comment that was brought out there was, I'm too poor to buy armor. The reality is, though, this right here is practicing armor. Since you have your mask concept, by me doing this right here, I do it, people that know, that's your visor. And if you have perf plate on, and you recognize they have perf plate on, you're like, that's cute, and you slam it down on them. And you just take away 95% of their vision. You're not talking about the Victorian era idea of the knight. You're talking about the combat professional of the 14th century. But there's no honor in that. Honor is a very weird thing. Okay? What's that?
Yeah, it's true.
I saw you covering his eyes, but did you see him fling dirt at me? Right? How much was Bustico a badass? Probably very much so, but also how much was it like, I'll pay you a little bit more to write me. Yep, I climbed that ladder backwards. Yeah, that's right. I crab walked it. So those are some things right there. So what are some things we found in this? I know there's you had something you wanted to add. Did you want to bring up your point earlier?
Oh, the question?
Yeah. Please. If you have questions and thoughts, now's the time. Please.
So if we're training this for a martial aspect, is it better to strike with back of hand, rolling in, gaining more leverage, or is it better for that knife strike when you first go?
Situation. Here's a question for you: is the person that's coming against you, are they some poor errant that doesn't have rad bracers? So when I do this to you right here, is that just a mace strike because I have a whole lower cannon? Do I even need to make it? There's a big hammer fist. My thought process is this: is that ultimately all the positions of Abratsari are what you're doing. He's doing this, I think, which is using the bone structure here. Nathan, are you still here? No, you had to take off. But by coming like this right here, could you imagine a rondelle, which is like a hot needle going through the beat right here, through those two bones, and now I have a really turning spot right here just to break your arm. So my thought process is, we're not doing this, we're doing this. That's how I see it. Because if it's an armor, as you saw with someone's wearing chainmail, that comes crashing down. So it's better to take it away rather than to cross and meet it. Only using some of my muscles when I use all of my body. That's my thoughts on that. Fiore is dead and silent, but that's what I would say that he's trying to say to us.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Was that a question on the cover first, Mr. Dagger?
Yes.
In another perspective, we can look up area that was experience. This is about when you're setting the start and you flinch. This is the flinch response. So this is what the strong instruction
This is actually a point that we talk about, because this is where, again, the whole manuscript to me is just algorithm points. There's only a few ways in which you can respond. There's this way, there's you freeze and completely do nothing, there's this way right here, and then the combat professional teaches people to lean into the thing, which makes your nerve response an effective response. So I'm glad that you brought that up. Thank you. Absolutely.
It's worth taking an hour to look up spear technique. That's all it'll take.
Thank you for that. Who else here? So what's the observations of ghost sparring when it came down to this? What happened when it ceases to be, okay, I'm just going to die here? What happened when you could cheat? When you can use all the stuff there? What happens? Talk to me. Go.
It's really easy as the aggressor to disrupt the other person's attention. Just, with the hand in the face or giving them a slap or something. So they're not even thinking about the dagger because they're thinking about what else what else is going on to them. So it makes it much harder to defend against.
They're thinking, so you just told me that you used your Visamento to look at all the sinew lines that someone could do otherwise than just the dagger, and that perhaps the sinew is built in both of our hands and we built those strike vectors, and how that perhaps we can use the sinew in our ground structure here to also work on we bisect those crossing points. Love it. Thank you. Awesome. Well, who else got something? This is great. Love it.
I found when Allison was switching hands with the dagger a few times, it's like I would get fixated on trying to make sure I secured that, and Walter brought up that's like you could just break the other arm while the dagger was out. It's like
once you start murdering someone, don't stop.
We've crossed that line.
You've crossed the line. There's no. I'm not trying to chase after the dagger. The person is the problem. This just becomes a very long tack. That if I land it right here, it hits the ground really heavily and hard, right? If it's not in someone's hand. So effectively, this is what I talk to my people about. This is not a weapon. This is a multiplier. This is the weapon. Okay. I'm not saying like, I'm not trying to sound like the 1980s or like, something like Terminator, like you're the weapon. No, the point being is your creativity and understanding these things here is the thing that makes this dangerous. It being on the ground can't hurt you unless you walk up to it and slip on it. It's the multiplier. Absolutely. Deal with the person. Control, right? Thank you.
You could parry the dagger, you could also parry their other attacks. If you saw them punch you in the face, block it.
So this means that you also have to look at the person because the battle space is constantly changing. What becomes the more threat? This may not mean anything, but this to someone's eyes may be a big thing, right? So yeah, your visamento, it means your footwork, your angle of approach have got to take efforts in different directions. Absolutely. Thank you.
Another one here is feeling the body language. So like I come out of wrestling, half the time you're not even seeing your opponent. You're feeling how they're moving. You can, so if they're moving to the left, you know, you can compensate it. It's almost like dancing. But knowing how your partner or your opponent's going to move just based on their body language and how they move. And you can almost fight with your eyes closed when you're that close and intimate with someone.
Yeah, I also want to piggyback off of that. That feeling is so important, especially, I don't know if anybody felt this or encountered this with Dagger. If you step back, you're giving your attacker space to take control. If you stay in on them and you feel and you wrestle and you take that floor, you take that ground, you take that control, you are in a safer position than if you step back and use your eyes.
In the sword algorithm class, we're actually going to talk about that because once you do those things right here, this becomes very limited. But as you go back, this becomes more dangerous. It's the same thing right here. It's all the concept of weapon. Again, just a multiplier. This shiny thing, it's not a weapon. That's what you think about. What you know how to use is the weapon, right? I bring this out right here because we're running close on time. But I also want to talk right here is, again, I told you like this. We see oftentimes where Fiore will be like this, or he talks about a low thrust. Now, one thing I think is very important about this right here is, if you know where the buttons that turn off, this became a nice, really nasty finger point right here. And when you don't have, and stabbing at someone in the chest, so one thing I found, this is my experience, with Charles Lynn's 31 layer gambeson, this really screwed up my shoulder. It doesn't go through. So why am I up here? I want to hit where the collar is not. Give me the soft bits. Right? Why low? Underneath the skirt, chainmail, or in this case right here, if I find that point and I drive right here, we're doing the same dagger manipulation stuff we just talked about a little while ago. This is just a pointing device. At least how I see it in this context. Okay. So we've talked a lot about First Master Dagger. And a lot about the effective strikes of Fiore. You talk about Abrazari and structure, movement, all these other things. But it applies to all of this. So if you know where to hit them, so now I break the sword down and I strike behind his ear. Did we not hit there today? Mm-hmm. Striking up here, the exchange of thrust into the throat. Coming crosswise. Where's the pommel hitting? So now your hand just became a new multiplier on that. And as it becomes easier, this makes it easier. When I cross the sword, I turn this in at somebody's eyeball. Again, I'm not saying this to celebrate it. I'm saying this because if you were looking at Fiore's Armazare, which he says in the very beginning, this is every dirty, nasty trick to preserve one's life. And there's two types of Armazare, which is another conversation. Find me later on. One's for quarterly display and entertainment, and one is every dirty, nasty trick. I will talk about the second one. And that means the entirety of his manuscript is killing or hurting somebody. It's not about being better. You prove you're better than that by hurting them and containing them in a very lethal way. Again, I'm not celebrating, I'm talking about the logic of progression in that martial art. I say all that right there because, again, as we practice this, when it comes down to this is how I see Fiore's Armazare. When it comes to the crossings of the sword, which again, if you see that later on, we'll be talking about that. But knowing where these things hurt is a big factor which makes it so incredibly effective. And even though there's armor, there's ways to get through that. And people that practice armor know that better than anybody. Okay? So that's all I really wanted to say here for this. Before we turn over, because I know we're telling you the announcement, I'm checking in with everybody. 10 fingers, 10 toes. How are we doing here? If you bowed out, I thank you for your visamento. And you're already mentored to say, I need to stop. For listening to yourself, for calling things out, I appreciate that right there. Thank you so much, because I think this is a great class. If you all want to give you all some round of applause.